Welcome to the Plant Services podcast series, The Hidden Cost of Compressed Air, sponsored by Kaeser Compressors. Each podcast in this 4-episode series has tackled one of the many facets of compressed air system operation and costing. I'm Tom Welch, Chief Editor of Plant Services, and today I'm joined by two compressed air experts from Kaeser, Neil Meltretter and Matt McCorkle, for our final discussion on how to reveal and control costs with system monitoring of your compressed air system. Neil is Technical Director for Kaeser Compressors, and he's conducted and supervised thousands of industrial compressed air studies to help plant teams achieve significant energy savings and operational improvement. And Matt is Manager of Branch Operations for Kaeser Compressors and has worked as a Certified Energy Manager through the Association of Energy Engineers. Welcome, guys, and thanks for being with us today for this final episode of a special series.
Thanks for having us, Tom.
All right, well, Matt, let's start the conversation with you. Over the last 3 episodes, we've covered air quality, location concerns, and oversizing your system. And you were with us for that first episode on the cost of oversizing. If someone really wanted to get a handle on all these problems, what are some things that you would recommend they do?
Well, I think whenever you're looking at the hidden costs of something, you really got to start by just taking a step back and consider the full implications of your decisions. So, for example, depending on where a business is in their growth cycle and where their equipment is in the life cycle, really depends on what kind of the first steps would be. So, for instance, if you're in a kind of a steady growth mode and your equipment is mid-life cycle, the number one thing you can do is optimize. And so when you're optimizing and you're trying to realize hidden costs and how to reduce them, it's important to just have data and have as much information as you can in terms of how your business is using air, how much it's costing you, how much manpower is going into your equipment, and are you getting the air quality you need for production? And that's where a master controller like the Sigma Air Manager comes in. So that's a big part of if you're in kind of that optimization phase. But if you're a business that's in a growth mode, or you're replacing obsolete equipment, or you're just adding equipment and really growing, then you're going to look at it want to take some other steps, and those might be looking a little broader at the capital expense decisions you have in the coming years, and realize where equipment goes is really critical. You want to design flexibility into your solutions and really plan that to design your air quality specifically for what you're doing in your plant. And so, and no matter what you do, I think it's important just to realize that in today's day and age, if you don't have the data, it can't help you make the decision. And that's where something like a master control Sigma Air Manager comes into play. But it's just, you always got to look at how expensive air is beyond just the obvious direct costs, and just look a little broader at those decisions and realize there's costs at many different stages of operating the system.
Yeah, so I would definitely agree with Matt. He made a lot of great points. I think monitoring is key. One thing that we say in designing systems, measure twice and cut once. And once that piece is in place, we don't think about it again. But you really need to. And I think that monitoring, that baselining, that checking in on how your compressed air system's actually running, those key performance indexes that we'll probably talk about today, those are really important to figure out how you're doing and how well you're doing, and if you're ready for the future. So yeah, I think getting a handle on it is getting that baseline either from a master controller or from an air audit or from your controllers that are there with push information. So a lot of things are at our fingertips these days, and we just have to tap into it.
Well, I'm going to build on something that Matt mentioned, Neil, about collecting data. These days you've got more and more assets that have built-in communications technology. It started with Alexa and Siri, which are now in the homes and pockets of a lot of people. Even some home appliances are incorporating these kind of technologies. So could you tell us about some of the standard built-in communication capabilities of newer compressors? And do you think there'll be a day, for example, when I turn on the compressor just by talking into the phone or smart speaker?
Yeah, Tom, it really is a great question. It puts, our industry kind of in a reality check. Whenever I go in to wake my kids up, hey, Amazon, play Queen. So that's how I make sure that they're aware of my music, of course, and that, it's time to wake up. Dad's here. So yeah, I mean, the ability to remotely monitor data is key, and I think all this information really, again, is at your fingertips. So to be able to open your phone and say, oh, compressor one operating temperature is 200. Should I be concerned? These are things that, they are coming, they are available today. And the kind of push data or technology that's out there, and you have Ethernet IP, you have Modbus TCP, there's BACnet here in the US or Profinet, worldwide. We're seeing a lot of call now for OPC UA as well. So those are some of the protocols that you'll see customers request depending on what kind of control system they're using today. And whether it's an additional module you might need, or a converter box, or it's automatically included, or you have to get a release code. Like, there's a lot of different options depending on manufacturers. But I'd say most master controllers have that capability, and they're kind of that central nervous system or the compressed air system, pulling in information from dryers, filters, ancillary equipment, as well as compressors, and then being able to push that out to a client. So, whereas you do have some remote capability to start and stop equipment, or, check in, get alarms and so on, to say that, at the end of a shift, I'm going to, look at my phone and say, hey, Siri, play AC/DC and turn off the compressed air system. I don't know if we're ever going to be quite there from, a safety and operation standpoint, because you really do need to have visualization on those things. But, we're definitely getting closer. So, someday you may see that.
Okay. You mentioned this enabling remote operation, among other things. Maybe we can talk a little bit more about that. What are some of the key benefits of remotely monitoring your compressed air system? Does that outweigh the cost of adding a master controller or a system controller?
Yeah, I hem and haw about this all the time. What we see is that the benefits of a master controller, I can talk about this all day, and unfortunately you and the listeners don't have that kind of time. But there's really so many things you can get. You're getting alarms, you're getting messages on the compressors, you're getting maintenance indications. Sometimes you're also getting countdowns on, oh, maintenance is due. So it's just like driving your car. B1 service is ready. Okay, I need to schedule that. So you're getting those things, which is a huge benefit. And those are things that you may not have seen before. So if you're tapped in, you're getting emails, you're getting these reports, you're getting energy reports, you're getting maintenance reports, you're getting these alarm messages and warnings. So I feel like you're much more dialed into how the system's running. And those KPIs are really critical, so you can see, okay, well, am I where I need to be? And you may have to ask a compressed air consultant, is this specific power okay? Do I need to be lower? Is higher okay? So there are some things that you may need some support on to figure out, is this the right place? But those are those mile markers or milestones that will help you kind of get on track. And in regard to cost, the cost of a master controller can vary widely. If we're talking about a brand new system that we're putting in, so we've got CapEx for it, the cost of the master controller, if it's 10% of that overall cost, I might be surprised, depending on how big that system might be. But when you're asking for, more functionality, I want to measure more things, or I'm integrating some older equipment or maybe some competitive equipment. So those modules you might need might be a little bit more. But, for me, it's a peace of mind, or it's a state of mind. How much information do I want, and how much am I willing to spend for it? Because really it's a one-time spend for, a huge benefit. Again, I'm standing here, maybe, dare I say, I'm taking a vacation, I'm on the beach, and I want to see how the plant's operating. I just pull up my phone, I have connectivity, boom, I see, the plant's running. I can check a leak load on a weekend. That's a huge peace of mind that we didn't have access to maybe 10 years ago. So, I think that's really key, and you have to ask yourself, how much I'm willing to pay for that.
Yeah, I think when it comes to return on investment and evaluating the cost benefit of master control, I liken it to the flip phone versus a smartphone, in the sense that, a smartphone costs you more in every facet. You have to pay for more service because you're using more data, and your plans cost more than the old flip phone where you just had texting and phone calls. And at the end of the day, you can make phone calls and text and communicate with a flip phone, but nobody's going back to that because of all of the convenience and the power of the modern smartphone. And you're able to make the most use of your time. You're able to just be so much more efficient, but there's not necessarily a direct ROI to it in terms of just specific dollars and cents. Yes, the flip phone is cheaper. So yes, not having a master controller, may be cheaper dollars and cents, but are you maximizing the use of your personnel? Are you maximizing the use of your equipment? Are you taking advantage of all the capabilities of your personnel and the equipment? And that's to me where the master control comes in, and it really helps you just operate your business at a much higher level. And that's where the ROI comes in, even if it may not be direct dollars and cents.
Okay. No, I hear you both loud and clear on that. And Matt, the last question for today will key into that issue of people's time and what they have time to monitor and watch. We've spent a lot of time during this series covering the many ways that hidden costs add up over time and over the life of the compressed air system. Plant managers, operations engineers, they're all busy, crazy busy, and many don't have the capacity to monitor one more thing. So as a final question for the podcast series, what are some of the more crucial data points that you would recommend our listeners monitor and collect data on for their systems?
Well, I think the most critical contributions to hidden costs are related to availability or reliability and your air quality. Those are the things that cost you more than you realize when you have an issue. And those are the things that through monitoring you can help prevent. So in terms of availability, on a frequent basis, probably in the daily or potentially hourly, being able to check what is the status of the equipment and what are my key indicators in terms of equipment health. So things like temperature and then your message history. And those are, again, at your fingertips. So it's not like it takes a lot of time. You don't have to go anywhere specific to check it, but just having the process to check those availability metrics. And then in terms of air quality, so your pressures, that you haven't had any minimum pressure events, and that your air treatment is all operating as designed. So you're not getting additional moisture or oily condensate down in the line, causing potential rework or scrap. So those are really, I think, the most kind of real-time monitoring things that are most critical to reducing hidden costs to an absolute minimum. And then in terms of a quarterly basis or possibly monthly basis, looking at your overall consumption and costs. So when you're looking at your consumption profiles, really seeing, have maybe different operators, are they operating equipment differently, causing higher costs than other operators? Are different production lines, is their consumption changing, or different products costing you more in air? So that's something that can be done on a more periodic basis. But those are the things I would check. And I think, with the master control, it enables, even the busiest of folks to be able to check that, stay on top of it, and really minimize those hidden costs.
Thanks, Matt and Neil, for being here with us today.
Yeah, thanks again for having us.
That's a wrap for our series, everyone, The Hidden Cost of Compressed Air. The first 3 episodes of this series cover the costs associated with sizing, location, and air quality. And you can find these episodes anywhere that the Plant Services Tool Belt podcast is available. Once again, thanks to our sponsor, Kaeser Compressors, and thanks to everyone for listening.